Hey there guys, today we'll be looking at a Russian in-ear monitor from a company called Myst. This is the Nail 1 and they have made a couple of more expensive models, Nail 2, Nail 3 and the Nail 2.2. This being the cheapest one. I'll be getting the Nail 2 for review later, so I'll come back to this company on that one. The Nail 2 should have some improvements over this one in some areas that I would very much like to see, but I'll get to that when we get to the sound quality. First off, these are hand built, all of them. All of the models are pretty much identical, physically speaking, and internally they are all single balanced armature driver units, so very similar there as well. Obviously it's some different drivers they use, but apart from that they are quite similar. They're made from aluminium, and as you can see here, if my camera will focus, it says, let's see, won't work with me, come on, it says Myst on the side of it, and then you have L on the back for left, and the other one says Nail and right on the back, and it's a very simple design. See, aluminium cartridge almost looks like ammunition for a gun, 9mm pistol or something. The nozzle is very narrow, as you can see here. It has some plastic insert, which makes the actual opening very small, like a needle hole. And it takes almost all buds fitted, these things. You can use pretty much all of them, except some of the ones that are specially made for some brand, of course. The plug on it is just a standard Nutric jack. One of these, nickel plated. Very simple, straightforward DIY job, pretty much. Strain relief is a bit of heat shrink, as well as what the hell is it called? The rest of the cable is pretty much the same deal. It's just some thin wiring twisted with some shrink tubing on top of it, and the same thing on the other end. And these, as you can see, the strain relief here is also shrink tubing. So the build is pretty straightforward, hand built, very solid, gets the job done. Nothing spectacular there. There are some things that I would like to see improved. Most importantly, the cable. Both me and another guy I have here who's listened to them as well, we both agreed that they have one major problem, which is basically that the cable retains too much memory. In fact, so much so that you can't change said memory, so you can't even mold it to fit. So basically it's been coiled up, of course, for transport, and the result of that is that, as you can maybe tell here, the wire is like twisted and not straight. It won't go straight. And that's a problem, which results in a lot of microphonics when you wear them, because it is an in-ear monitor. They are of course very sensitive to that, and since they don't have an ear hook, which would normally take some of that away. You can hook them over the ear, but it doesn't really do much for the microphonics. It means whenever you move, it's quite noisy, and I haven't had problems with this, but I imagine for some people, if you don't get a perfect fit, they might yank them out of your ears as well if you're very unlucky. But generally very simple build, very comfortable, works well, nice length of cable, so on. So physical properties, quite good. Cable needs some improvement, but that's about it. Not much to say there. Now let's get into the sound, because that's where it gets interesting, considering this is a company that most people haven't heard of, because these sound quite spectacular. They're very detailed, very precise. They're not sibilant at all, even though they have quite a bit of treble. They're not per se bright sounding, but the problem is they don't have much bass. Specifically, it's the sub bass that's lacking, and that's something the Nail 2 should improve on. These have, like I said, very, very detailed sound, very good texture and so on, and that goes for the bass as well. If you carefully listen in a quiet room, you will be able to hear that they do actually go very, very deep in the bass, pretty much the full spectrum. The problem is that it's so silent or so quiet that you won't notice it compared to the rest of the sound spectrum, because the mid and the highs are very well balanced, and the upper bass, very, very upper bass, getting into the lower mids, are also very balanced. There is bass, but not much, like I mentioned. So yeah, good texture in the bass, not much of it though. The mids, again, very good texture, very detailed, very balanced, nothing really sticks out. The highs, very, very detailed, very balanced, again, nothing sticks out. They're not peaky, they're not screechy, anything. Even with very, very bright recordings I've heard, they never really got annoying to listen to, and you don't get much listening fatigue at all. And the soundstage in these is also very good. Very precise, fairly big. Nothing extraordinary, but it's very, very good for an in-ear monitor, all things considered. So yeah, I'm quite impressed with these. I have to say they're actually some of the best in-ear monitors I've ever heard. Even compared to my own customs, I think these are probably a bit better, possibly. At least to my taste, anyway. I found my custom in-ears, which is the Air Audio 4, to be a bit darker sounding, which is surprising to me, since I found them quite bright in the beginning. But these in-ear monitors, they're not for everyone. If you listen to bass-heavy music, or music that relies on the bass in some way to get its sort of feeling and impact, these might not be the right in-ear monitors for you, because they just don't have that. If you listen to acoustic music, classical music in most cases, that sort of thing, these are probably some of the best in-ear monitors on the market from what I've heard. Most others either doesn't do what these do as well, or they do it as well or better, but in the process gets too bright, like the Fit-Ear 3V4, whatever it's called, the very expensive universal fit monitor, that one, which is quite praised. I've heard that and I found it to be very good, but very bright. These basically, from my experience, does everything. They do everything that one did right, and none of what it did wrong, except, of course, that they don't have much bass. So yeah, if you don't listen to electronic music, or at least not bass-heavy electronic music, some ambient will do fine with these, and not other music that relies on bass, like say some pop music, I imagine. And I found some metal does lack some impact with these due to the lack of the low end, but generally they are actually quite good for rock and metal and so on, because they're so precise and so fast. The transients are very, very good, so you won't have any problems distinguishing all the sounds from each other, even in fast-paced music like metal, where a lot is going on at the same time. And I imagine, again, that would also be very useful for classical music. Again, they are able to separate everything very well and presents it very, very well. So, extremely good in-ear monitors, some of the best. So, definitely recommend them. I do think you should wait till you've heard at least what I have to say about the Nail 2, and possibly till you've heard them yourself. Because the Nail 2 is probably going to do what this one does, except it probably has the bass from what I've been told. But let's see. If you have any questions regarding these or anything else for that matter, feel free to ask me in the comment section, and if you want more videos, please thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.